When a sentence is making a comparison, you have to make sure that what's being compared are actually comparable. Meaning, you have to make sure you compare people to people, things to things, parts to parts, and wholes to wholes. When a sentence begins with a comparison word, such as like or unlike, and then is followed by a phrase that ends in a comma, what comes immediately after the comma is what's being compared to the word that came immediately after the comparison indicator. So in this case, we have our comma followed by insect's eyes, and the insect's eyes are being compared to the color discriminating apparatus of the human eye. So when we look at this comparison, there are two major aspects which make our two items not comparable. The first is part versus the whole. The color discriminating apparatus is only part of the human eye, and we're comparing that to the whole insect eye. There's also an issue with the discriminating apparatus being singular, and we're comparing that to insect's eyes, which is plural. And you have to make sure you're comparing part to part, whole to whole, and singular to singular, plural to plural. So a correct version of the sentence might look something like this, where I say, like human eyes, plural, and I'm comparing that to insect eyes, both the whole eye and both plural. Sometimes comparisons are a little less obvious, but you still have to make sure that what you're comparing is logical and makes sense. In this top example, we're comparing what the average employee at McDonald's makes, meaning we're talking about his hourly wage or his money. And the sentence says that the money he makes is 10 times the people in North Korea. So it's accidentally comparing money to people. And you want to make sure you're comparing either money to money or people to people. In the second example, we try to fix that, but we're not completely successful. We compare what employees make, and then by adding the make at the end of the sentence, we clarify that we're comparing what employees make in America to what employees make in North Korea. But we still have an issue with singular versus plural, because an employee, that's singular, and people is plural. So it makes it sound like one employee at McDonald's make 10 times what all the people in North Korea make. A correct version of the sentence might read that the average employee makes 10 times what a person in North Korea makes. Now we're comparing dollars to dollars and singular to singular. Here's another sentence with a very similar problem. We're talking about interest rates, and we say they grew more than all of last year. So you're comparing rates to a year, and that doesn't make sense. We can fix this problem by simply adding a they did. And now we're comparing the rates to they, and they is a pronoun for rates. So we're comparing rates to rates. In this sentence, we're comparing U.S. trade deficits, then we have a comma, so what comes immediately after the comma, which in this case is China, is being compared to the deficits. So we're comparing a country to a deficit. In the second example, we fix that. We start off with what the United States has, then we have a comma, and we're comparing that to what China has. And since a trade deficit and a trade surplus are both numbers on a balance sheet, that would be close enough. They're comparable.